Welcome to the Positive Pants Podcast. Mindset, motivation, and inspiration to help you find your positive pants. Let go of negative thinking and stop living for the weekend. With your host, Fran Excel.
So welcome to the show. As always, it's Fran Excel Mindset Coach helping you find your very own pair of positive pants so you can get out of your own way and live a life that you love. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm very grateful you've chosen to put me in your earbuds today. Please do hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything, and do leave me a review. I love reading them, and it really helps me get found by other people who need to hear what I share. I'd also love you to email me your mindset and productivity questions or topics you'd love me to cover to hello@franexcel.com, because I know a lot of you think I'm inside your heads because you tell me all the time. But if I don't know what you need, I can't give it to you. So let me know. Welcome back to the replays. Perfect timing for now. Resilience is one of my favorite topics because I get really excited about the fact that it isn't something that you just have or don't have. It's absolutely a learned skill. Now, I found my resilience the hard way 6 years ago when we lost everything. So you get to benefit from what I learned and potentially take quite the shortcut. So for me, positivity and optimism are all about resilience. It is absolutely a key and essential part of it. You know, it's a way of thinking for me. It's something I get better and better at over time, and honestly consider it one of my key skills. And you can learn that too. So I hope you enjoy this replay because I think it's perfect timing for everything that's going on. You can't choose your first reaction to something, and change is always a big one, but you can always choose your second and rewire your brain to bounce back more quickly every single time. Now, things are going to happen. Life is going to happen. Things can't be great all the time. It's not possible. But if we can master how we handle situations, how we look at situations, and how quickly we can bounce back from them, then we are onto a winner. Now, it ties in really nicely with the Bounce Back series of interviews that I'm doing at the moment. And if you haven't caught the first one with Jessica Lorimer, go back to that quickly so you can see how I and other people do it. Yeah, how we have done it. Learn from what we learn from our mistakes and our wins. And it also ties in perfectly with the Positive Pants Planner too, because one of the key things it builds for you is resilience. So if you're not on the wait list, yet, get over to www.franexcel.com/PPP waitlist. Now I hope you enjoy. Here we go. So welcome to the show. I'm Fran Excel. I'm helping you find your very own pair of positive pants. So, as always, it's going to be really, really practical, actionable tips that you can implement into your life straight away. So I do hope you have your notepads with you. Right, today we're going to be talking about resilience and the different ways that you can bounce back really, really quickly when things don't quite go according to plan. So having to bounce back is something I'm pretty familiar with. It used to be that if something bad happened or didn't quite go according to plan, then I would plummet into a pit of despair and self-pity. I would catastrophize. I would think that life was never going to be the same again. All I wanted to do was sushi roll myself up into that duvet and wait for things to get better. Inevitably, that's not quite how life works. So I'll be honest, if you haven't guessed, resilience was not one of my strong points for a very, very, very long time. But now I know that resilience is something that you can learn. So even if it feels like the most unnatural thing in the world to you, right now, you can learn this. So I'd really never been great at bouncing back from anything throughout my life. You know, all the usual things like bullying at school, not doing great in exams when you had a really clever brother, heartbreak, not getting the job I wanted, friends letting me down, you know, all the usual sorts of things that can send us into a little bit of a spiral. It was a few years ago, a lot of things went a little bit wrong, shall we say. okay, they went really wrong. I had to start dealing with kind of setback after setback. I lost my job, lost my home. We moved in with my wonderful mother-in-law. Bless her, we've been living with her for the last few years. Betrayal, all sorts of things. Car accident, no money, bullying bosses, you name it, I went through it. Really grown-up stuff that you don't think you really need to deal with, so you're completely unprepared for. Now, everything that happened over that period has led me down the path that I'm on now, doing something that I absolutely love, like coaching other women through what's holding them back and helping them completely change their mindsets around and completely changing the way that they look at themselves and the way they feel about themselves is something that I absolutely love doing. So I look back now on all of the negative and the bad things that happened with tremendous gratitude. Weird, right? Really weird. I found it weird to begin with. There was one day where I woke up and I thought, hang on a minute, I'm actually really, really glad that all that happened. But at the time, it's not so easy to do that. So in all honesty, now I would say that resilience is actually one of my absolute greatest strengths, and something else that I'm really grateful for, because life does like to throw you curveballs. It happens to all of us. And even when you're a mindset coach and you know what I know and you've learned what I've learned, there's still these moments where you just, and you want to sushi roll into your duvet again. So now I have the ability to tackle problems head on. I can always find a good lesson in anything that happens. I've got the ability to find a positive in pretty much any situation, and I can do it very quickly. And you can too. You really, really can. I've literally trained my brain to be more resilient. It's like training a muscle. The more you work it, the bigger and better and easier it gets to use. And the more natural it becomes for you. It becomes more your go-to. So whereas my go-to before would have been, oh my God, the world is ending. Where's my duvet? Now it's more, okay, take a step back, helicopter view. What can I do about this? How can I look at this differently? So it took me a lot of time and trial and error, but here are the top things that I've learned that will help you flex your resilience muscle. Now, these are really, really practical. So the first one is realize that you have a choice. You really do. Like, you can choose to wallow in what's happened, or you can choose to look for a way forward. It really is your choice. This was actually one of the harder things to learn, because you say it and it sounds wishy-washy, but you genuinely can choose. Now, when you choose to wallow, there's often some more things going on there for us, which is for another episode. But there's often something that actually keeps us there, whether it's attention, whether it's wanting sympathy, whatever it may be. When you choose to wallow in that, you are choosing to feel that way. It is completely up to you. The next one is look for that lesson. There is always something that you can learn from and grow from out of any negative situation. Find what that is and use it as a positive way to move forward. You absolutely can find what it is. Look back on times when you've had something go wrong for you before and think about what you actually learned from that situation and how you grew, and use that knowledge to look for that lesson at the time. You really, really can do it. Ask yourself what you can control about the situation. If it's nothing, great. What's the point of dwelling if you can't do anything about it? Accept that there's nothing you can do and look for your way forward. Look for that way to move on. If you really, really can't do anything about the situation, why waste your time hurting yourself trying to do, what's it going to do for you? Don't do it. Just don't do it. Remember that by going through the hard things, you come out stronger. Now, when I was learning, doing my study in positive psychology, I learned about something called post-traumatic growth. And what that is, so when you have your levels of happiness, post-traumatic stress is obviously when you have your levels of happiness, something happens and you can't quite get back up again. Now, what post-traumatic growth can do is you have your happiness level here, something happens, you're down here, and then actually you get back up to your happiness levels, and you've got post-traumatic growth. So you're actually happier than you were before. It's very interesting, but again, for another episode, I could talk about it all day. So the next one for you, find evidence of someone else who has gone through anything similar or worse and come out the other side. Either come out the other side fine or come out the other side even better. because the more you look for that evidence, and there is plenty of it around, the more you look for that, the more you're going to find and the better you're going to feel. Because once you have that evidence that the world is not ending, you really can start to move forward from there. Now, if you've been with me for a little while, you'll know that the next couple are some of my favorite things in the world. Gratitude. Get grateful. Write down all the things that you're already grateful for in your life right now. Get yourself focusing on all the good stuff rather than all the negative things that are happening around you right now. Now, also when you do this, you can go back to it in these moments. So I do 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day. But then the other thing that I like to do is I have a rolling gratitude journal. So I basically pop in there every single time that I'm grateful for anything it could be. So in the times when you're feeling rubbish, you're feeling like the world's against you and all of that sort of stuff, you can go back to this list, read it, and then you will start to feel better about yourself. The effect it has on your brain is ridiculous. The next thing you can do is get through the day with 3 good things. Now, this is a positive psychology intervention. So when something bad happens, or when you're feeling like something bad always happens, do this 3 good things intervention. So sit there and think to yourself, okay, right, what are 3 good things that have happened to me today? It can be absolutely tiny things. It could be you made somebody smile, you found a penny on the floor, anything, really can be anything. But do it consistently for as long as it takes you to get out of that funk. It's really important that you're focusing on the positives, because what you're doing is you are shifting that focus, because what you focus on grows. So you don't want to be focusing on the negatives. You just don't. It's something you've got to interrupt that. This is why it's called an intervention. You've got to interrupt that pattern and then shift your focus to something else that's more positive and more beneficial for you. So the next one's a little bit of a coaching question. So ask yourself, will this matter next year? Will it matter next month? Will it matter next week? Will it matter tomorrow? If the answer is no, there's a little phrase that I love, which is called, which I say, it's tomorrow's chip paper. If you're not joining me from the UK, you may not understand what that means. But you used to get your fish and chips in newspaper. You can't do it anymore, but the phrase has come from that. So today's news is tomorrow's chip paper. Yes, it feels like it's big now. Tomorrow is tomorrow's chip paper. So always remember that one. The next one is don't bottle it up. I know there's a lot of you in my community who do this, and a problem shared really is a problem halved. Cliche as it sounds, it's so true. The more you bottle these things up, the more it grows. Chemicals and hormones from your brain build up in your body, and they need to be released. So you know when you've had something awful happen and you hold in the tears, and then there's this moment where something completely irrelevant happens that's not really that upsetting at all, and you just bawl your eyes out. That's because all this stuff is pent up and it has to get out. You always feel better afterwards. But the same thing is true with talking about your issues, talking about what's bothering you. It really is an incredible thing to just share what's going on for you. And the next one I would say is distract yourself. Distract yourself from the negative stuff. So don't sit there on the sofa and dwell. Give yourself something else to do rather than think about the problem that you're facing. Go do something that makes you smile. Go take a walk, get moving, do an exercise class, take a bubble bath. Just try and do something that's nice and good for you. Mindfulness is an amazing thing to do. I'm actually studying at the moment a lot of the neuroscience behind mindfulness. So if you just take a few moments to notice all the little things around you, A, you're shifting your focus, but B, you're activating different areas of your brain as well. So it can make you calmer. And if you do a breathing technique, like the one I've taught before, which is the 4-7-8-3 technique, if you're feeling anxious or really uneasy, or you need to shift your focus, breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 7, breathe out slowly for a count of 8, and then repeat that 3 times. And tell me if you don't feel better, because that works for me every time. Also helps you with sleep. So if something negative's happened and you're struggling with your sleep, you can use that technique for that. Do something that makes you laugh. Laughter is the best form of medicine. It really is. You can't feel happy and sad at the same time. Fact, you can't. You can't feel both at the same time. It's like gratitude and anxiety. You can't feel both at the same time. So do something that you know makes you laugh. Who can you speak to that makes you laugh? What TV program, what Netflix channel, what Netflix program do you really, really love that just makes you laugh? And completely distract yourself that way. There's actually another little trick of actually, if you smile to yourself, it activates because of the muscles that you activates different parts of your brain and releases different chemicals. So even that, fake it till you make it, when you smile. I used to do this in the car when I was in the depths of my despair. I would drive to work and I would smile to myself in the car and look like an absolute loony, but it works. It really, really does. The next one, choose not to be a victim. Please choose not to be a victim. You really do have so much more control over this situation than you give yourself credit for. You really do. So say to yourself, right, today's the day. I'm going to find a way to look forward. I'm going to find a way through this negative thing that's happening. And please know that the feeling won't last forever. When something really negative happens, say your business fails or you have a breakup or anything along those lines, just trust and know that it won't last forever. Another really, really good tip is to put someone else in your shoes. So for example, if your best friend were in your position and this thing was happening to her or him, what would you be saying to them? What advice would you be giving? Put someone else in your shoes and see how that feels and what advice may come up, and see if you can take your own advice. That's always a tricky one, but see if you can take your own advice. And please, please, please remember that sometimes on the way to the dream, you get lost and find a better one. Now, you may have seen a picture of this on my Instagram, but I have a mug with that phrase on it, and it's one of my favorite things in the world, because it just goes to show you that sometimes you can think you've got this plan and you're right on track. Something derails you, but all it's doing is putting a block in the pathway so you take a different direction. And it can take you on a much, much, much better direction. So please trust that and just believe to yourself. Sometimes on the way to the dream, you get lost and you find a better one. And at the end of the day, you can't often control what happens to you, but you really, really can control how you choose to react to it. You really, really can. So if you take anything away from that, please know that you have so much more control than you think you do in these situations. So I really, really hope that this has been useful for you. They are my tried and tested, and they are definitely what has worked for me the absolute best over the last sort of 4 years of going through some stuff. And it's definitely how I can always bring myself back, ground myself really easily, and just get my head back in the game and get that perspective. There's always somebody worse off than you, always. So have that perspective over your situation. And if you don't know already, my printable journals to help you find your positive pants have now been launched on Etsy. So you can search for Fran Excel Coach on Etsy and you'll find my store, and they are all in there ready for you. So it's full of coaching exercises, tips, tricks, journal pages, everything you need to start shifting that mindset around and finding those positive pants. We've all got them, just got to find them. So until next week, I will see you very soon. Bye.
I think it's one of those things.
So if you got value from this and you know in your gut that now is the time to step up and start rewiring your thinking and changing things for yourself, then book in a free discovery call so we can work out what needs to happen to get you from where you're at right now to the action-taking success you know you can be. And if you want my eyes and ears on your problems, I work with people one-on-one and through my Proactive Pants Mastermind. So stop waiting for if and when and decide to change things now, because you can. And as always, I hope that was helpful. So any questions, just let me know. And as always, I will see you next week. Bye.